Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of what will be hopefully a look at a winning game again. It's annoying not winning games as we experienced at the weekends, but now we can get things back on track. For our preview show, I'm joined by King. How you doing, mate? You good? You well?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm really looking forward to this game. I feel like this season I'm actually looking forward to Europa League more than before,
Mm. Why?
just because players like Fabio Vieira, Marquinhos, Eddie Nketiah, I want to see what they can do and if they can use the Europa League to get themselves into the first team
Absolutely
because
fair. Well, yeah, go on.
we don't know a lot about Vieira or Marquinhos, and we've seen that Eddie he looks sharp when he comes from the bench. It's going to be interesting to see now that I assume he's going to start
Mm.
if he's going to score and keep that form and if he can press himself into the first team.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're also going to be joined by Moss very shortly. However, of course, he's just on a phone call at the moment. It's just the way it goes. The King's busy with work. Moss is then busy with work, and it's just the way it goes. I think he's back. So let's bring him into the conversation as well. Moss, are you with us?
I'm here. I'm here, man.
Good stuff. Good stuff. How are you doing? You okay?
Oh, I'm good. People still dying. Things happening, and my administrator's away, so I had to take the call. Sorry.
No problem, man. It's all good. It's all good. How are you feeling about Europa League action coming back?
I'm excited, man. I mean, it's low. I mean, I'm world global football connoisseur, of course, but it's nothing like having us in one of the Champions League or the Europas. I mean, it's much more exciting and really get up for it. And I think you mentioned it in a show or a little while later that the midweek games you're dying because it's not us involved, and it's gonna be a pleasure to have it back.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, King, do you think that not having European footballers humbled us in any way? Is it? Do you think there's been any kind of impact on the club's progression or kind of sense of itself without having that European action?
I mean, I think in hindsight, it was perfect for Arteta because for the first time he really had a week of training where he could implement his style of play and really focus on the core group. And obviously for the fans, it was good to see that nothing is given in football. Like I know some fans think that we are entitled to play in Europe or we are entitled to win trophies, but it really humbled us. And I hope that people now will value the fact that we are in the Europa League and it's a good opportunity to actually win a trophy.
Indeed. Let's jump into the chat box. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you happen to be in the world. We've got Marcus, we've got Rancid and Lynn. Good afternoon, guys. We've got Michael. Who else
Yeah.
is on here? Absolutely. We've got Costa joining us in the chat box as well. Nav and Jamian. We've got Moss, of course, already jumping in there. Greg, Luke. We've got who else? We've got loads of people joining us actually. Luke Morrison. Plenty of members is good to see in the chat box this evening. Of course, if you would like to come on to our preview show, all you need to do is become a member. Link in the description, as always, in the link tree. Moss, talk to me about kind of your expectations for the Europa League this season. Is it a must win or is it a get as far as we can?
I mean, yeah, get as far as we can, but I mean, me and King maybe remember a Cup Winners' Cup title long ago, but yeah, I'd really love to win this. I mean, I went to Azerbaijan, Baku, in that debacle of a final, and it was very disappointing. And I'd really love to win this thing. Get a European trophy, and that would look really nice in the Arsenal trophy room I recently visited, and yeah, for sure. Gets us back in the Champions League 100%. But I mean, top four's got to be the focus as well. I mean, top four, third, second, we got to keep going the way we're going and staying in there.
Do you think, King, that the Europa League is a distraction, or do you think it will be opportunity to use some of our depth players? Because our squad is, there is more depth to it than there has been in quite some time.
No, I think it's a blessing in disguise because to be able to keep the squad harmony up, we need to make sure that most of the players are involved and play. Like someone like a Smith Rowe, for example, for him to be able to get back into that Premier League 11, he needs to play in the Europa League. Eddie is another one. Tomiyasu at the moment is another one. Even players like Holding, Sambi Lokonga, these players need to feel that they are part of Arsenal, and the best way to do that is to play them in this European competition.
What do you think? Sorry, Moss, go on.
I was going to say, Tom, when they named that whole squad list the other day, that's for the whole group stage.
Yeah, so you do it in two sections. It's the group stage, and then they name another
Saka being on the B. What is
yeah,
that
he doesn't need to be named in the first team squad, so because of his age. So we don't.
And
have
that's
to
why they named the other injured guys, because eventually they'll play. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and Marquinhos is involved in that because he's not been at the club long enough. That's the same for a number of other players that aren't actually involved. So George Lewis,
Walters as well.
Walters, and there's one other one as well that I mentioned this morning. Whose name has escaped me, but they couldn't be selected either because of some of the amount of time they've been with the club. They can be registered for the second half, which will be obviously the
Zach Hall you mentioned this morning.
Yes, so there's a number of players that can't be involved, but hopefully.
What do you make of that rule, Tom?
It's weird, isn't it?
It's a bit weird.
I don't know why. I don't know why it exists. It's a bit strange. I mean, obviously you can only have a certain size of squad, and there is an element that if you've got like these teams like Arsenal and the big Premier League sides and your Real Madrids of this world that have got like a massive kind of academy situation, it could give those clubs an advantage, I suppose, over some of the smaller clubs in the competition that don't have that depth.
Chelsea with their 50 players.
Yeah, that's a land to spend about 100 odd players on loan. So, you know, when they're involved in European competition, it's similar for them. So, yeah, arguably, then maybe that's why. But it does seem a little bit strange as to why that's going on. You said it's a bit of a blessing, King. Moss, do you agree? Because obviously Arsenal got a lot of players with injuries at the moment, and injuries can crop up at any time. So, is there a worry that the competition could become a little bit of a, you know, not necessarily a distraction, but a concern in terms of extra games needing to be played?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, with injuries and whatnot and timing of games and packed in this year with the World Cup, I mean, that's going to be an issue. And when these games fall, you know, if guys are out and whatnot. But the most important thing, I think most people agree, is winning the group, because you go right into that round of 16. So I think Arteta's taken this dead serious every match and get up on teams. And hopefully we can make some subs and like what King said, get everyone feeling part of the team. So I think a lot of us are looking forward to seeing the Vieiras, the Marquinhos, and get in the side, you know, maybe on Thursday, but, you know, in this group stage for sure.
Let's talk about our lineups, because I've got you guys to give your desired teams. King, let's go through your 11. Why have you picked what you've picked?
Yes, I was actually tempted to pick Saliba and Ben White, because I really want to see them as a pair. But as I said before, I do think that squad harmony, we've seen how together the boys are, and we've seen the aura around the club is very positive. So to be able to keep that, players like Cedric, they need to play, Holding need to play. I feel like Lokonga needs more game time. I would have played Smith Rowe, but obviously I think he picked up an injury. That's why it's not in the starting 11. And Vieira. And the reason why I picked Jesus is because I think the more goals he scores, the better for his confidence. So play him.
And your 5-star player, Vieira, you know, is he going to use this competition as kind of a springboard to go forwards?
I think I speak for most fans if I say that we are really excited to see what Vieira can bring to Arsenal. You know, he's a bit of an unknown star in the sense of he's so highly rated in Porto. We didn't have the opportunity to see him in preseason, and the small cameo he had against Man United, he already showed that he got a skill set full of Arsenal in his baggage, and I think he's gonna shine in this tournament.
Absolutely. Moss, let's go to your team. A few changes made. You've kept some key starters in the competition, which is interesting because actually I saw a report coming out earlier today supposing that Arsenal will intend to go through with a strong squad to Zurich. So do you expect that to be the case? And is that not a risk playing so many first-team players?
Yeah, this isn't maybe my desired. You know, I'd like to see some more changes. And like King said, I really want to see Saliba and a Ben White at center back to see how it looks. But I think he's pretty banged up. I mean, Odegaard's banged up. I would have loved to start at ESR too. But I'm in more Arteta's head, drinking the Lavazza. and I'm more thinking what he's thinking, and yeah, we got to win this group. You get up 2-3-0 the first half, then we can make a bunch of changes, get guys off that got nicks and bumps and whatnot, and so yeah, I'm starting Odegaard no matter what. I really want to see him and Vieira doing the ticky-tack, working with each other. It'll be brilliant. Someone in the chat mentioned Matt Smith. He really is a right-footed Odegaard. I've seen him play with the under-21s along with Marquinhos, who was amazing that day. And Matt Smith really moves the ball, really runs around like Odegaard, but he's right-footed. But yeah, maybe he gets in the second half. But yeah, I want to keep it, give Turner his first match, get Tomiyasu in there with a start. He really needs it. Tierney too. His confidence got to keep growing. And we got to get up on the match and then make some changes. And Xhaka back in Zurich, he's going to rock in front of his family, friends, and everybody. He's going to put on a show. And I'd really like to see Eddie and Jesus both get in there and play together. I mean, we had a few glimpses in the preseason, didn't we, Tom, of them out there together, and it looked pretty wicked.
He really did. I mean, those two combined so well, and I think there is an argument they can work together because Jesus' versatility is going to be really key to when we do rotate and bring some other players into the team. You've gone with Xhaka. You mentioned playing in Zurich. Ironically, we're actually playing an hour away from Zurich and St. Gallen because Zurich have moved. Yeah, they've moved the game to St. Gallen because there's an athletics tournament on at the Zurich Stadium. I say the Zurich Stadium. It's also Grasshoppers ground as well. They don't have kind of sole ownership over it, so you can probably see
St. Gallen. You said
St. Gallen is where it's gone. So it's about a 57-minute drive when I was looking at the travel information for it. But it does mean that, St. Gallen has hosted plenty of Swiss national sides, international games, which means Xhaka is going to be very comfortable. Is that one of the reasons why you've selected him?
Yeah, he's going to start on Thursday, make Vinny proud, make his family, friends proud, and he's who I picked for the star player, like you said, and I think Eddie's going to get us started. I don't know if we're giving predictions or what, but
I think we'll get there.
Yeah, Eddie's going to get us going with Jesus, and that's why we got to get a lead so we can make some changes and get other guys in there.
In terms of what I've gone for, I have rested a fair few more.
Both of you like Marquinhos. I love it.
Yeah, look, I think Marquinhos he's been really impressive with the under-21s. Really impressive. The club, from my understanding,
it's too easy for him, don't you think?
It is too easy for him. It is a level that is below what he's doing. His movement, his pace, his technical ability, his reading of the game is just a level above the opponents he's up against. It's unsurprising he's got such a good goal-scoring record. And he's making it good in terms of training with the senior side. He's continued to train with the senior side. That's not been stopped. He's not been training necessarily with the youth team. He has been training with the main guys. So yeah, it'll be intriguing to see him hopefully get a chance. I would start him. If Smith Rowe is fit, he's in. If he's not, we're going to get some more updates on that tomorrow. I'm going to be at London Colney in the morning watching the open training session. So I'll let you guys know as soon as I know whether or not if Smith Rowe has taken part in that open training session. Fingers crossed he will be. Matt Smith is a great option, and I think Moshi summed up kind of his abilities really, really well. Progressive. I think I saw a compilation going around on Twitter earlier on today that you should definitely try and scroll down your feeds and find. I'm sure it's been retweeted by somebody.
He's a diet Odegaard with a right foot.
He's very, very progressive. His passes, his vision for the passes is excellent. That's why I've played him in that left 8 position, because obviously the inversion of playing a right footer on the left, I think we'll get a lot of benefit like we do when Odegaard plays there. I think that Zurich, from doing a bit of research today, I've got an article going out tomorrow morning with an interview of Oliver Zeziger, who is, of course, the football manager, Swiss co-head researcher. So he knows all about FC Zurich, and he basically said they're bad. it's what he said.
So what place did they finish, Tom?
They finished as champions last season in the Swiss League, but they are currently second bottom after 7 games, having only drawn twice. They lost their manager, Bright's name has escaped.
Seems to always happen when upstarts win, and then they lose players, managers.
No, absolutely. That is exactly what happens. Andre Breitenreiter, who's now left for Hoffenheim, he was their manager last season. They've now got in Franco Foda, who they brought in, I think, from Austria. And he has struggled to try and kind of not only carry the burden of the side's, championship winning side last season, but they've lost a lot of players. They lost that Gnunto to Leeds United. He went over there. They've lost Ase Cisse. He's gone off and left the club as well. Cheikh Kunde, I believe, is one of their more interesting midfielders that's going to hopefully be in the team tomorrow. He's one to watch and keep an eye out for. But they don't really have a set system or formation.
Basel or Grasshoppers or Young Boys that win.
It's usually one of those teams that win, but the league table in Switzerland is very strange this season. Basel also a third bottom. They've only won one game, drawn 3, lost 2. So they're not having the best of seasons. Grasshoppers are fourth. St. Gallen, who was where we'll be playing, are top. They've won 5 out of their 7 games, lost 2 with 15 points. Young Boys are second with 4 wins, 2 draws. 2 draws and 1 loss. But yeah, you have to go down. I mean, even Sion are fifth. They're probably the other side you may have heard of in Switzerland before. But yeah, Zurich are second bottom, Basel are third bottom, Grasshoppers fourth, Young Boys second, and St. Gallen are first. So it's a weird season going on in Switzerland right now, and Zurich have really, in Oliver Zezegger's words, crumbled. As I say, the article in full will be out tomorrow morning at around 7 o'clock. So go and give it a read over on football.london to find out why everything has gone wrong with Zurich next season. Let's go to predictions. Chat box, it's time to get involved. Please make sure you do. Is Chelsea 1-0 down? I don't want to talk about
it. Yeah, they are against Dinamo. Orisic, or what's his name, is scored. I feel like he always scores against English teams.
Dortmund's up too.
It's Mislav Orsic, yes, of course. Yeah, he scored against Spurs, didn't he? I think.
Yeah, he did.
Interesting. I don't want to talk too much about the Champions League because obviously the results will change by the time we finished and you watch this on catch-up, people. But yeah, good news. Predictions for tomorrow's game. King, I'll start with you. Give me a scoreline and scorers, please.
I think 4-0. I think Marquinhos will score. I think Eddie will score a brace. And I think, 5-0. Jesus will score and Vieira will score.
Lovely stuff. Moss.
I'm not quite that. I said 4-1. I think some people in the chat have said 4-1. Daniel Robert mentioned starting, who is he? Having Zinchenko in midfield. I would love that too. I've been calling for that all year. Zinchenko in the mid, but I don't know, just with him banged up a bit, I was like, play Tierney and let Sambi play. He needs it, and Jack at home, play him. But yeah, I said 4-1. I think we'll get an early one from Eddie. He'll get us going. Maybe Jesus before the half, and we're up 2-0. We'll make a whole bunch of changes. Arteta, maybe making 3 at once the other day. I don't know about that. But we'll be up 2-0. They're going to get one. We'll get all worried, and then I think Vieira and
I love Samir's comment there.
Vieira and either Marquinhos or maybe Eddie will get a second. So yeah, 4-1.
Samir says Eddie hat-trick. Moss will finally then believe Eddie's better than Jonathan David.
Never. JD with a goal with each foot on Sunday.
He's had a mad start to the season. O'Malley 4-0. He's saying. John says 5-0. There's been a lot of other positive predictions. Some not so positive. Marco says 1-1. And then Marco's second account, Mark Bevan, says 1-1. PS Midi says 2-0.
So what was it that got heard on ESR, Tom?
We still need to get clarification. All we know is that he pulled up in the warm down.
In the warm downs, yeah.
Yeah, the clarity. So as I say, tomorrow morning, open training session. We'll see if he's involved.
Zinchenko was his knee, so maybe a good way to sit and be ready for Everton.
Potentially. And there is good news regarding Thomas Partey, as probably a lot of you may have seen the news today. He could be back involved potentially even this week in training, which means he could play against Everton. I'd probably not risk him. I know I'd probably go and play him against PSV in the Europa League and to give him kind of, maybe 30, 40 minutes in that game. And then obviously play him up against Brentford in the following week.
If Sambi has a great game, why not go again?
And I think it's important that Sambi plays this game after what was a disappointing game at Old Trafford. I think, King, it's important that we allow players like that to get a second chance. You think about Nketiah last season, spoke about he was never given a run of games. And when we gave him a run of games, we saw the results of that and he scored plenty of goals. Do you think it is the same for Lokonga? We need to give him that opportunity.
I actually think a lot of people have been too harsh on Sambi. I think people don't take things into context. And what I mean by that is that if you look at last season, at the start of the season, Partey was struggling. It took him probably 8 to 10 games before he was up to speed. He got to a point where people were saying that Arteta is forcing Partey to play that 6 role, but he can't really play it. And I feel like we are in a similar situation with Sambi, where if you look at his skill set and the way we want to use the number 6, it's very different to like a Real Madrid who used to have like a Casemiro. We don't play with a destroyer. We play with a 6 that is good in transition, that can break the line with passing, and that is brave on the ball. And I saw that on Sambi. Yes, he made 2 errors, but the errors he made still, for me, didn't mean that we needed to concede. There was still a lot of actions before they actually scored. And I feel like the more he plays, the more he understands his role, the better he will get. And after he's played a game of 10, 15, 20 games, that is when we can make a statement. Oh, can he play 6? Can he not play 6? But for now, I still have a lot of confidence in Sambi. And I think he's a great prospect.
Yeah, me too. Honestly, the amount of unnecessary bashing of Lokonga over the last, not even just week, but even over the last year, I think has been really, really over the top. He didn't have the Europa League last season to get bedded in. He was thrown straight into Premier League action way earlier than expected. And actually, as I've mentioned a number of times, he was our best midfielder up until he was dropped against Man United when Xhaka returned. So I am excited to see him actually get the opportunity to play a number of games and against teams that we should be dominating, and for him to show what he can do progression-wise. He's going to make mistakes. That's what young players do. Moss, let's round things off with your thoughts around kind of some of the other rotational players. Tommy Yasu's not got many minutes. Tierney's not got many minutes. Rob Holding's not got many minutes. But the player that I want to talk to you about most of all is Matt Turner, who comes in. He has faced quite a lot of questions, and people
he hasn't even played, and he's getting criticised.
I know. He's only played pre-season, and he's faced quite a bit of criticism. I was doing the Arsenal Lounge with the boys and Mo Hayder on Monday night, and Mo was scathing of a player that he'd barely seen. So
I've seen a lot of them. I've seen Canada beat him. He won titles for New England Revolution. He was goalkeeper of the year. Like he made, and like you've said many.
I was muted. I wasn't silencing you, I promise.
Yeah, I'm just saying he was goalkeeper of the year in the MLS, and he worked his way up, like you've said many times, right up to England or America's number 1. I mean, they have 3-4 goalies that are battling for number 1, but I mean, he's a brilliant shot stopper, and he's really good aggressive, good at catching the crosses, and the premiership and the bumps and the aggressiveness isn't going to bother him one bit. But yeah, the one thing, and which will get better at Arsenal with our coaching, is his play with his feet, and he's going to grow into that, and he'll get better at it.
Yeah, I really hope he has a strong game. Go on, King.
Is it fair to say that if Stefan is good enough to be Man City's second keeper, surely Matt Turner, who plays ahead of him in the same team, could be good enough second keeper for Arsenal?
I think people expect too much from a second goalkeeper. Yeah. I know we had Bernd Leno as ours because obviously we brought in Ramsdale. But you look through the league, teams' second goalkeepers are nowhere near, the level of the first goalkeeper 9 times out of 10. They're just not comparable. Do you know what I mean?
Who's Liverpool's second keeper? Isn't that
Kelleher, and they have Adrian? They're there too.
Yeah. Would Arsenal fans rather have Adrian or an international keeper in Matt Turner?
I mean, man, you always get a good one. I mean, they have Dubravka now, and Dean Henderson is showing his quality.
Heaton, they've had, a ridiculous number of them. Dean Henderson, of course, going through. They've let him go on loan, and they've realised that was a mistake because, he's arguably better than De Gea at times.
Yeah.
So, Man United's a bit of an anomaly, but Liverpool have got Kelleher, who I think is a decent goalkeeper, but nowhere near close to the level of Alisson. They've got Adrian as well, who's made consistent mistakes when he's come in. Chelsea spent 75 odd million quid on Kepa Arrizabalaga, who was awful. They've then brought in Mendy, who he himself, whilst having a very decent year last year, still has made some glaring mistakes. Massive
mistakes. Diving goalie. He dives.
You think at the Leeds game when he was tackled by, was it Aronson that tackled him?
Yeah, it's ridiculous, Tom. Listen, I could do an hour show with you and talk about the ref, and it wouldn't be enough. It's ridiculous now. I don't know if you're gonna cry. What is a foul? What's not a foul? I don't understand.
We'll also have to wait and see what indeed does happen. But I think maybe people's expectations on what a second goalkeeper is are maybe perhaps too high. And finding one that you can sign that is happy to sit on the bench, at that age of 28, that's an international, that's going into a World Cup. I think we've done well. You know, I think we've done well. Leicester, Glenn says Leicester have Joel. Is it Joel? It's not Joel Ward, is it? Is Danny Ward? Danny Ward.
Ward.
I think I
as
could
their
do
number
better than
one.
him.
Like
He's better than him.
Yeah. Which one is it? Is it Danny Ward or Joel Ward? Danny Ward.
Danny Ward.
Danny Ward. Yeah.
As their number one, like after they let go of Schmeichel. So yeah, like, I have no issue with Matt Turner being our number two. Ramsdale might get injured, and if any of the Premier League's top 10 sides, I'd say, saw their number one goalkeeper get injured, they would be nervous about the number two coming in. It's not a surprise. So
we all had him in our lineup, Tom. Is it have they said that he's starting or what?
I don't know if it's said that he will, but I'd be surprised if he didn't.
Yeah, Ramsdale's a little banged up too.
Mark says, so if Ramsdale gets injured, Turner's all good. It's not about him being all good. He's not going to be as good as Ramsdale because there is no second goalkeeper in the league that's really going to be as good as the first choice. That's just the way that it goes. So I'm obviously going to be nervous, like anyone should be. But saying that, we're not as confident with our second choice as we are our first choice as some kind of critique on who we've bought is ridiculous. Like, it's frankly ridiculous. Anyway,
maybe a little less passing back to the goalie and asking him to do fancy passes. I mean, a little less of that. That's all.
He's not going to be as good as Ramsdale with his distribution. He's just not. Not many goalkeepers are.
It's normal. And if we're honest, if you have a good enough second goalkeeper, eventually they want to leave. You can keep them maybe for a season, maximum 2. And then you need to go and find another one. And then need to go and find another one. It doesn't work in the long run. We've seen it when we had Cech and Leno. We've seen it when we had Leno and Martinez. And we've seen it with Ramsdale and Leno. Yeah. It doesn't last long.
It doesn't. Boys, thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully, I'm going to predict. I think I said 2-0 on the lounge, but after doing more research on Zurich since that point, it's probably going to be closer to 9 or 10. Genuinely, they do sound awful from what I've listened to. So it's going to be a 1-0 defeat, and we're going to look very, very silly. But no, I do feel as though if we get an early goal, I think it will be floodgates kind of open at that point. Oliver, who I was talking to, said if you score early, their mental kind of state about coming back from goals is very low. When they concede it, it kind of goes wrong. So we'll have to see if we can get an early goal. King, thank you so much for your time. Tell people where they can find you and what you're going to be up to.
Oh, thanks for having me on, guys. Most of you might know now I've started my own channel in King's Football Show. I will do a watch along today for the PSG versus Juventus game. So if you fancy a Champions League watch along or FPL content, then please do subscribe to my channel.
Link to King's channel. I've just thrown it into the chat box. So do go and make sure you are subscribed to King's channel, if not already. Moss, thank you so much, mate, for joining me. Always appreciate your time. Tell people where they can find you and what you're going to be up to.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. We're dealing with a bit of a tragedy here in Saskatchewan, but it's all good, and hopefully they catch this guy and maybe.
What's going on? I've not heard about this. Tell me.
There was crazy mass stabbing, 11 dead, 19 injured, small community.
Well, thoughts are with you and those close to you, mate.
I got Koreans attacking me on my phone. But yeah, Footmoss Sports Talk. I do a lot of, obviously, MLS, NFL coming up this weekend. It'll be big, Red Zone, and I do watch-alongs. And I think King forgot to mention the star of his FPL show is.
Yeah, me and Moss do the FPL together.
Top of the table, Moss, Luke Arsenal. And you'll see me on Zurich Talks, but yeah, and King Show and once in a while TGT and once in a while with Harry. And I think your idea this morning was great. Having a Harry and Tom live show. That's a brilliant idea, man.
Yeah.
I would definitely
We'll see if we can make it happen at some point in the future. But I know we were speaking to the audio guy who did the live show for Ask Blog, and then our show, of course, on last Friday. And he seems to think that would also
What's
be
the guy in the chat saying goal from Aubameyang? There's no goal from Aubameyang.
Oh, is Mark's a troll. He's a genuine troll. We finally found one.
I had to look.
It means the channel's made it if we actually have genuine trolls in the chat. I love this. Mark, much love to you. Thank you for wasting your time on my channel. I really appreciate it. We will see you all very, very soon. Tomorrow morning, I'll be back at 8 a.m. keeping you guys up to date on everything that's going on in the world of Arsenal, of course, as we look even closer ahead. As I said, I'm going to be at London Colney tomorrow morning, fingers fingers crossed, to watch the open training session. So there should be more information about who indeed is going to be fit and who isn't, as Arsenal then travel out tomorrow afternoon to St. Gallen, which, of course, my colleague Kai Kanak will be on the ground for the press conference. You'll be able to watch that on the Arsenal Way.
Hey, Tom,
yes,
mate. Don't you think they should go like 2 days before?
I don't know these days. I don't mind. I mean, do you remember the 89 when they travelled up on the day of the game? And they won that pretty comfortably. So who knows? It must be fine.
Are you doing the live blog for the Europa League game?
I am doing the blog for the game.
Okay, I'll do a video then.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, that's a good point. If anyone wants to throw a preview video in for the live blog on football.london, send it over on Twitter or Instagram. If you can't send it on Twitter, then I can try and upload it myself for you. But get involved with the blog. It's always great when we get little fan videos in. It gets people more engaged in the blog. So yeah, definitely send them over. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. It's been an absolute pleasure. Drop a like, subscribe if you're new, and as always, up the Arsenal.